Hi everybody, it's Elizabeth. I'm in the Bois de Boulogne, my bike. This is like starting to be one of my very favorite spots. This tree. I love this tree. I come here after my swims these days. My main pool, Piscine Henri Monterlon, is undergoing renovations. So I've been doing some piscine tourisme, so like some pool tourism, and I've discovered La Piscine d'Auteuil, which is actually in l'Hippodrome d'Auteuil. So if you remember that video I did before about watching the steeplechase, the horses with the steeplechase, yeah, my main pool now is like in that steeplechase course, like it's in it. Which is crazy but kind of cool and kind of harkens back to the history of steeplechases. I mean, like, steeplechase was like, you know, they could go wherever. So it makes sense that they would use that real estate. Anyway, it's September. I've been here for like coming on 9 months, and it's starting to actually occur to me that I'm here. Like, it's starting to sink in. And I thought that I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna try to do something. It's gonna be maybe a little hard for me. I'm gonna tell you my story. As you know, there's two sides to every story, and I've really stayed silent until now about my side, and just let other people, you know, put their stories out there and write the narrative. And if that's their truth, that's fine, that's cool, but I have a truth too. And so I thought that I would tell you my story. Like, so here in the expat community, it's really common to ask each other, like, so, you know, like, why Paris, why here, and like, how did you end up moving to Paris? Like, it's a very common question. And so this is the story that I tend to tell people that I'm meeting new here. Like, this is the story, my story, that I tell people, new people. So about 3 years ago, this fall, it might have even been September, my partner of like, at that time it was probably like 10 years, took a month-long vacation with himself and his father, and it was a very cool vacation. And I stayed in Madison, Wisconsin, where I was living. We were living together. We had lived together in the same apartment for like 9 years. And I think my yoga instructor understood that I didn't have a good relationship. I did not understand that, but she did. And she started to work on me. You know, so like the first week, you know, she asked me, so you're all alone, Elizabeth, what's she gonna do with your free time? And I was like, I have no idea. You know, my partner is gone and I'm feeling really lost. I don't know what to do with myself. So she decided to like bike home with me. Like, her apartment and my apartment were in the same general part of the city. And so she like followed me part of the way, like almost all the way to my apartment. We biked together. And so she's like, all right, so you're not sure what would make you happy or what to do with this time? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna give you an exercise. I want you to light a candle and take a journal and a pen, and I want you to write a list of things that would make you happy. I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. Second week, I go to yoga. She bikes home with me. She's like, okay, so Elizabeth, did you do it? Did you do that exercise I asked you to do with the journal and the candle? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And then as a joke, I said, I just want to go to Paris. She let it go. And then like the third week, we're biking home together after yoga. And she's like, so hey, Elizabeth, did you do that, exercise? And I'm like, no, I didn't. I just want to go to Paris. And I don't want to go to Paris for like a week. I want to go to Paris for like a month, a substantial amount of time, and like try working from there and like do the like remote digital nomad thing. And she's like, okay, so what's stopping you? And that really made me think. And later that night I booked a plane ticket so that in March, it must have been 2023, I would spend my birthday month, March, in Paris. And I got an apartment in Montmartre. And my partner came home from his vacation. I learned what I had done, and he booked a ticket for the first week. I spent that March in Montmartre in Paris, and it had been like 10 years. I hadn't spoken a word of French, but it all came back so quickly. And that first week was really difficult because my partner was a pill. Just not fun to be around. Cute French dog. Ruining everything, But then I had a lovely, 3 weeks by myself in Paris. And I just remember the night before I needed to take my flight back to the United States. I was so upset. I just sobbed. I was so unhappy that I had to leave. But I got on that plane and I went back to the United States, and I went back to that apartment with my partner, and that was April then, like 2023, and he really punished me. He punished me for daring to do something for myself, and started to show sides of me that I never, himself, started to show sides of himself that he had never shown before, and they were scary. And I still didn't see it for what it was. I still didn't realize that it was abuse. But eventually, looking back on it, I feel very fortunate that I was able to escape. I really almost needed his permission to leave. So I just tried so hard that spring and early summer, and finally we were able to negotiate that he was going to see other women. We had an open relationship at that point, and I was going to become a digital nomad. I had also already cleared that with my job. I had already said, hey, what do you guys think of this plan? And luckily they agreed that they didn't see any problem with this plan. So I knew it was possible to become a digital nomad. And so that was the agreement I made with my partner, that he would see other women. We would technically still be together, but we would be separated. I would be a digital nomad in Europe. And in August of, it must have been August of 2024? Gosh, that's just so... No, it was August of 2023. I flew to London, and then, as you might have realized, or might have seen, I spent a year as a digital nomad, and I did the Schengen shuffle. So basically, I was in Paris for as long as I could be without a visa. And then whenever I had to leave, I would go somewhere else. So I started in London, went to Paris, then I went to Lisbon and Morocco and Tunisia for as long as I had to be away, and then I returned to Paris and stayed there as long as I could, and then again went back to London, and then flew back to the United States. And in that year, it was really a year, August to August, in that year I realized that when I'm in Paris, I feel like I'm home. I feel like I'm where I belong. And when I'm not in Paris, I'm just waiting to get back. I mean, there's just so many things I could talk about, but a lot of it comes down to language. I do speak the language, and it does activate an entire like layer in my brain that is not traumatized, like a layer of my brain that's healthy. And so I really love being in an environment where I get to speak French a lot and hear French a lot. And another like really major thing that makes me feel a lot more comfortable here than in the United States is that the French culture embraces intellectuals, and has like, it really honors intellectuals. And in America there's this really virulent anti-intellectual kind of sentiment, and I like being someplace where they like me, you know. But also, I guess, like, another thing is that in the spring of 2024, in the early summer of 2024, probably like June 2024, like, that is when I finally realized, oh, and I should say that, like, my partner and I, like, we officially broke up in December of 2023. And it was really in early summer of 2024 that I believed it, and that I realized how bad that relationship was for me. And it was partly due to my roommate, Melanie. She, like, I got off the phone with a video call with my former partner and told her some of the things he had said, and she's like, oh my, that's gaslighting. And that really sent me on an entire like internet rabbit hole, where I started to learn a lot. Gaslighting, toxic relationships, the forms of abuse, etc., etc. And it was extremely eye-opening. So, like, I tell people today that, like, I'm simultaneously 50 years old and about 14 months old. Because it felt like a complete awakening, a complete rebirth, like my eyes were opened in a way that they never had been before. I now look at all of my relationships with new eyes. And so I guess another thing was that, like, I just I had to go back to the United States in order to organize my visa with the French government. They do require that you do that. And so last fall, I was in the United States working on my visa. Moved here in December of 2024. Been here now for coming on 9 months. All of 2025. And it's also really, really nice to be so far away from people who hurt me. Yeah. And it's really, really nice to just start over someplace that I love, and someplace that it's so beautiful and that I feel so at home. And it's actually really easy to meet people here. I can say more about that in another video if you're interested, and if you are, just drop a comment. Yeah, if you have ideas about what you want me to talk about, just drop a comment. But that is my story. That is why I live in Paris. And that's what brought me here. And I just feel really, really fortunate. And my visa renewal is in process, so hopefully the French government will decide to allow me to stay. Allez, au revoir. Bye, ciao.